Hey all, Jason Levon, priest at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Welcome to another edition of Pause and Pray. Anybody who runs a marathon will know about the reality runners call the wall. It's a point in the run, usually around mile 20 or 21 or 22 of the 26.2 mile endurance journey, where you deplete all of your physical energy and in truth, all of your mental energy as well, when you're unable to endure anymore. As somebody who's run marathons before, it's a brutal experience. But there can also be some beauty in it on the other side, because when you realize you can't endure anymore on your own, it's when you find amazing support and endurance from the community of runners that are gathered there to support you. And they often support you with some very humorous signs. And they usually stagger them around those miles when they know people have hit the wall and can't endure on their own anymore. And there's all sorts of them. The list is long, but you'll see signs like, "This is the worst parade ever," or "This is an awful lot of work for a free banana," or "Don't stop, people are watching you," or "Toenails are for sissies," or "You could have chosen chess," or "This would be a lot of fun if it weren't for all the running." And the list goes on and on and on. And in that humor and in that support, those people willing to show up and endure the race with you, I've found the courage and grace and strength to keep putting one foot in front of the other when all of my strength has left me. The Scottish theologian William Barclay, who's well known for his scripture commentaries, writes that endurance is not just the ability to bear a hard thing, but to turn it into glory. As people of faith, we discover a humbling but beautiful gift about endurance. That on our own, as we live life, we run out of it from time to time. But our weakness only magnifies God's strength and God's willingness to endure with us and to endure us. We're no different than those early disciples who ran that race with Jesus and continually failed to endure in their weakness and their struggles and their doubts and their misunderstandings and their fear and uncertainty and betrayal. And yet, their weakness only magnified Jesus' desire and ability to endure them and endure with them. In our morning prayer for today, we're invited to pray Psalm 136. It's a psalm with 26 verses, and each verse ends with the line, "God's mercy endures forever." A psalm that invites us all to pause and to pray and to ponder the gift of God's ability to endure us and to endure with us. A gift that runs throughout Holy Scripture. It's God's desire and ability to endure us and endure with us that led God to make a covenant with us through our father and mother in faith, Abraham and Sarah. A covenant that didn't depend and doesn't depend on our ability to maintain it, but on God's ability and God's endurance. And it's that same endurance of God that lasted with the people to bring them out of Egypt and endure them and endure with them in the wilderness. And then later to endure the people and endure with them through exile. And again in Jesus to endure a frail and fragile group of disciples and endure with them. And it was that endurance that transformed those frail and fragile disciples into beautiful instruments, announcing the reality that Easter had broken into our midst and continues to break into our midst, all because of God's endurance. And because of God's endurance, Easter continues to break into our midst. Maybe it's because we're experiencing what I'm experiencing right now in the midst of this pandemic, as I'm given time and space to really ponder and think. And I've come to realize that many of the things I've put my strength and energy into before this pandemic aren't as life-giving as I had thought. And I'm finding in this time new ways being opened up and inviting me to invest my time and my strength and my energy and my commitment. Or maybe it's simply experienced in the fact that in this tomb-like reality this pandemic has brought to all of us, life still really does go on, and invite us to recognize it and celebrate it and enter into it and embrace it in many different ways. All of that is to say that it's okay to be tired and worn out and weary in this marathon we call life. But as people of faith, we also celebrate, because while that exhaustion comes with life on our end, what also comes with life is God's ability to endure and the gift of Easter that brings. And it's that gift that doesn't just help us bear life, but actually helps us discover that life is continually being turned into glory. God's Easter peace and blessings to you all.